Welcome back to 428. Last time we got a bad ending as Osawa. This time, I'm pretty sure that we've got to play as Kano, and we need to go and make sure that he does not call any of the detectives staying at Osawa's place. So, let's do that. Hold on, let me just check where we are. Alright. We're at the farthest place that we can be. The car moved at a glacial pace toward the crime syndicate's hangout. Stanley pounded his fists on the steering wheel in frustration. They had no sooner set out than the traffic slowed to near a standstill. Despite the occasional lurch, it never crept above a crawl. Kano stewed in the passenger's seat. The case was rapidly getting out of hand. Now he had to worry about the safety of both Maria and her sister Itomi. Never mind the fact that Detective Tateno had also gone missing. There were too many unknowns, too many uncertainties. His unease was growing unbearable. Also, Tateno hasn't radioed in. And, we can't reach him from our end, either. Kuze's words kept echoing inside Kano's head. What could have caused Tateno to drop out of contact? Someone had gone after Itomi while Kano and the others were busy trailing the attaché case. Could Tateno have been... No, it couldn't be. Kano was sure that Tateno would have done whatever was necessary to keep Itomi safe. Stanley broke the long silence. What's on your mind? Still thinking about that call from Kuze? Kano didn't answer. Look, if you're worrying about that other detective, the guy who couldn't even protect one girl, Stanley continued. Not exactly a ringing endorsement. Don't you talk about Detective Tateno that way. I'm concerned about Hitomi Osawa, but the missing attaché case needs to come first. Stanley's expression remained stone cold. Kano flashed him a sidelong glare, then went back to staring out the window. A moment later, a flurry of motion in a nearby alley caught his eye. With a start, he recognized Sasayama. His fellow detective was caught up in an altercation with a man in dark clothes. Kano sprang into action, his body moving almost before his mind registered the situation. Sasayama! Flinging the door open, he leapt out of the car. Hey, wait! Stanley called after him. But Kano was already sprinting toward the fight. Oof. The other man knocked Sasayama onto a pile of garbage. As Sasayama struggled to get back to his feet, his opponent looked down at him with a triumphant sneer. Kano finally got a good look at the man, and his eyes flashed with recognition. It was the perp who'd first taken the attaché case back at the Scramble. Tariq Al-Karawan. You, Kano growled. He sped like a bullet to tackle Al-Karawan around the legs. But Al-Karawan nimbly stepped aside. Kano's arms closed on nothing but air. At the same moment, Al-Karawan deftly wrapped an arm around Kano's neck. Kano felt a vice-like pressure on his carotid artery. A move known as the front choke sleeper hold. Constricting the carotid artery stops blood flow to the brain, causing the opponent to lose consciousness. Also known as a guillotine choke, or guillotine choke. His consciousness quickly began to slip away. Oh no you don't, you bastard, he snarled. Lowering his center of gravity, he got hold of one of Al-Karawan's legs and used his shoulder as a fulcrum against it. Despite the arm crushing his neck, Kano managed to lift his opponent high into the air. He continued the movement to heave Al-Karawan up and over himself, slamming him upside down into the heap of trash. Stanley strolled up to the aftermath of the struggle. "Well, you've got the brawn part down," he said. "Need some work on the brains." Alcarawan was sprawled out atop the mound of refuse. He'd been knocked out cold. Sasayama coughed and sputtered. Kano went to help him to his feet, but Stanley stepped in between them. "What are you doing?" Stanley asked. "Helping Sasayama. What does it look like?" "We need to apprehend Alcarawan first." "He's not even conscious. Sasayama can come first." He pushed Stanley aside and crouched down alongside his partner. I mean, there's two of you. This Stanley guy isn't actually, this Stanley guy isn't actually that great, because you'd think, like, as soon as he realized that Kano was gonna go help Sasayama, he would go and be the one to apprehend, Alcarawan. So, apparently he's not very good at reading the situation. "You alright?" he asked. "Yeah," Sasayama groaned. "You bailing me out, though. Can't let the missus know about that." "Mum's the word," Kano said. He slipped an arm underneath Sasayama and helped him to his feet. "I managed to find the guy who had the attaché case," Sasayama said, "but when I tried to arrest him, this fellow came out of nowhere and attacked me." He flashed Alcarawan a nasty look. "So here we go again, disobeying direct orders," Stanley huffed. "What's the deal with Japanese police, anyway?" He shook his head in exasperation. Sasayama gave Kano a puzzled look, jerking his thumb at the American. "Who's this guy?" "It's a long story," Kano said. He filled Sasayama in on the situation. "Enough chit-chat. Hurry up and cuff this guy," Stanley said. Kano knelt down by Alcarawan's unconscious body, flipped him over, and proceeded to cuff his hands behind his back. Kano paused. Alcarawan's sleeve had slid back from his wrist. "What's this?" The unconscious man had a tattoo of a two-headed scorpion on his left forearm. Stanley strode over. "You find something?" he asked. "Yes, I think this guy might be the ringleader." Seeing the image had reminded Kano of something he'd heard back at headquarters. That the head of the foreign syndicate had a scorpion tattoo. He relayed this information to Stanley. "I see." Stanley called up Kuze on his cell. "You'll be happy to know that the guy with the attaché case is still at large," he said. "Apprehending the ringleader at this point shouldn't be an issue. One of your so very capable subordinates gave us a big step forward in that case here." "Wait a second," Sasayama murmured. "That was sarcasm, wasn't it?" "Yeah, real quick on the uptake there." Stanley hung up and called over to him. "Think you can escort this guy back to the precinct?" "Yeah, sure. Seeing how very capable I am." Kano felt his phone vibrate. The display showed an incoming call from Rumi. "Hello," he answered warily, keeping his voice down. Stanley had him a little on edge. "It's me." It was Shizuo. Damn it, Kano thought. He did not have time for this right now. But if he just hung up, he might be in even deeper hot water. Kano decided he'd have to take that risk and hung up the phone. Let's try deciding that it'd be better to listen to what he has to say for now. Kano decided he'd better listen to what the old man had to say. Hello, sir. I'm afraid I'm not really at liberty to take a personal call right now, even if it is from my father-in-law. He did his best to sound apologetic. I'm not your father-in-law. Ah, yes, of course. Sorry, sir. He bowed his head reflexively, feeling like an idiot. You really don't give a damn about keeping me waiting like this, do you? Sir, I swear to you, I feel terrible. Please, I just... Flustered, he took a deep breath and recomposed himself. I promise to you, sir. I promise I'll be there. If you can just wait a little while. Don't make promises you can't keep. Shizuo's barking rebuke made Kano break out into a sweat. You think I'm gonna let you off the hook just because you're working a case? This is exactly why I don't want my daughter with some detective. Great. Another angry tirade. But didn't you used to be a detective, sir? Kano muttered. You watch yourself, you little brat. It's not enough that you keep calling me your father-in-law. Now you have to bring that up. Evidently, Kano had touched a raw nerve. Ever have a dentist hit a nerve while drilling a tooth? That's where this expression comes from. Thanks. It seemed like anything he said only made matters worse. Well, you're not off the hook, Shizuo continued. I am never letting my daughter marry the likes of you. His fury hitting its crescendo, Shizuo promptly hung up. Why on earth did Shizuo hold such intense malice toward police detectives when he'd been one himself? Kano had become a detective for Rumi's sake in the first place, and now it was the biggest thing holding him back. Hey, come on, let's go. Stanley's voice snapped Kano out of his daze. Ugh. Grimly, he followed the American back to the car. Yet again, Stanley was thumping the steering wheel in frustration. Traffic hadn't let up one bit. It was starting to look like they might never make it to the foreign syndicate's hangout. Kano caught sight of a girl in a hoodie weaving her way between the stopped cars on foot. He rolled down the window and called out to her. Miku Morita. She's the fighter who we saw earlier in both Tama's route and the other guy, Minorikawa's. She just decided to retire after losing to Tama the cat in a street fight. She's thinking about what to do with herself now. Excuse me, miss? Did something happen? Huh? What do you mean? With the road, I mean. What's with all the traffic? Oh, right. Apparently there was some big accident over by the train station. That's probably what's causing it. Really? Yeah, I don't think you guys are going to be going anywhere for quite a while. She smiled and went on her way. Stanley gave the steering wheel another punch. Well, I guess they did say this wasn't just some typical ransom case, he muttered. Kano saw an opportunity. If they're not after the money, then what are they after? Stanley kept his eyes forward, acting as if he hadn't heard. Look, Kano said, I can't help you if you keep me out of the loop. After a few moments of thought, Stanley replied with a single monosyllable. Drugs. What? Maria's father, Kenji Osawa. I assume you're aware he works for Okoshi Pharmaceutical. I am. Nothing's been made public yet, but Osawa recently oversaw the development of a new drug. It is not at all uncommon for a new drug to be in development for 15 years or more, with expenses totaling 20 to 30 billion yen, roughly 200 to 300 million US dollars, before it is approved. Worldwide demand and sensational profits can be expected if a groundbreaking medicine is developed. Nonetheless, pharmaceutical companies are often under major pressure due to the tremendous cost of labor and equipment. And someone is trying to get their hands on it. Kano's mind latched onto this new information, trying to assemble the pieces of an evolving puzzle. Someone. Who? An international criminal mastermind. This foreign syndicate is merely a tool in someone else's game. Kano regarded Stanley's face carefully. He looked more cold and serious than ever. So wait, does that mean the reason we're letting this syndicate walk around unfettered is on my orders, yes? So it really seems like all of this really does revolve around Osawa and his drugs. I see. So the only thing you're really concerned with is catching this international mastermind? Precisely. Kano felt like he was starting to get a picture of what sort of person Stanley was. So, you don't really care what happens to the girl who's been abducted, do you? Not particularly, no. Why? Do you have a problem with that? Kano clenched his fist. His hand was shaking with anger. Dictum number 8. When you really want to punch something, you really probably shouldn't. I think that's a pretty good rule to live by. Kano recited the words inwardly like some sort of desperate mantra. If he didn't manage to calm himself down, he was liable to slam his fist right into Stanley's face. Outside the car, the traffic remained at a standstill. Kano chafed against a feeling of utter futility. One after another, his uncertainties came to nag at him. Was Maria still safe? What had happened to Hitomi and Tateno, her bodyguard? And now, on top of all of this, it struck Kano as rather careless to send Sasayama away with Alcarawan without any backup. Now that Jack had alerted him to the presence of a dangerous international mastermind, still on the loose. Fighting back his fit of pique, Kano got out his cell phone. Oh no, we really don't want to do this. To do something impulsively out of irritation, resentment, or the like. Similar to doing something in a huff. Okay, so we have to make sure he does not dial up Detective Kachiwara, who is stationed at the Osawa residence, because he does not hope for a little more information about the family's 2 daughters that might shed some light on the situation, because that just causes problems. So let's just dial up Sasayama. He wanted to make sure his partner had gotten Alcarawan back to the precinct safely. Sasayama picked up almost right away. Kano, what's up? How are things on your end? Any problems getting Alcarawan back? Nah, I've got Tateno taking care of him. Wait, what? Kano could hardly believe his ears. You were in touch with Tateno, he asked. He could hear the shock in his own voice. Yeah, just bumped into him over by the precinct a little while ago. Then he is safe. Kano felt a surge of relief. What about Hitomi, then? Stanley glanced over at him, curious. Tateno says he lost track of her somehow. And then he got called back to the precinct, apparently. Okay, so I think Tateno is definitely the guy with the cane who was chasing after, Hitomi and, Achi. Tateno had lost track of her. That's not like him, Kano thought. Since he was heading back there anyway, I handed our guy over to him, Sasayama said. I see. Kano was glad to hear that Tateno was alright, but his relief was tempered by a surge of anger at the thought of what had happened to Hitomi. Now I'm back to tailing the attaché case, Sasayama continued. Today's my wife's birthday, you know. My plan is to wrap this thing up ASAP so we can celebrate tonight. I've already got a present and everything. I envy you, man. Closing his eyes, Kano took a moment to picture Rumi. But Shizuo's face popped into his mind's eye right alongside her. Well, just hang in there, buddy. Even if your girlfriend is just a picture of Masami Nagahama. She's Midoriyama Academy graduate and national celebrity. Her popularity shows no signs of slowing down after she played the female lead in such films as The Beast that Hoarded Gold at the Heart of the World and The Swidden Fortress. There is another nationally famous actress with the same name, but it is a nationally known fact that the two are completely separate people. Ah. Ha 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 ha. Still snickering, Sasayama hung up. Kano bit his lip and slipped his phone back into his pocket. At long last, traffic began to move again. Almost as soon as it did, however, Stanley had to slam on the brakes. The abrupt stop made Kano smack his head against the windshield. "Hey, what gives?" "Look," Stanley said. He gestured with his chin. Kano couldn't believe his eyes. There, walking along the sidewalk ahead, was Al Karawan, very much not in custody. Alright, I was thinking that maybe it was fine to leave him in Tateno's care, because they seemed to be opposed to each other, but apparently Tateno just does not care about having him in custody at all. He probably just let him go because who cares, because he's more focused on finding Hitomi right now, I guess. I can't really think of what his reasons could be. I guess he has like some kind of wind of what all this is happening, and he knows that he needs to make sure that whatever drugs are on the line here don't end up in the wrong hands, I guess. "What the hell?" Kano shouted, already hopping out of the car. Stanley was right behind him. They crept up on their target as silently as possible, then rushed him once they were close. In a moment they had subdued him. Kano used his own body weight to hold Al Karawan down. "What are you doing out here?" he demanded. "Whoa, hey, guess you didn't get the memo, huh?" Al Karawan flashed a coy grin. "They let me go." "Let you go?" "I think your buddy here might have hearing problems," Al Karawan said to Stanley. "I'm a free man." Kano turned and glared at Stanley. What is he talking about? "No idea. First things first, get this guy back to the precinct. I'll head to the syndicate hang up by myself." "You don't think this is weird?" Kano asked. "I mean, what the heck is this guy doing on the loose again?" "What matters is that he is free. Maybe he's telling the truth about being let go." "But that's ridiculous." "And I guess he must have escaped on his own," Stanley replied. "In either case, your buddy screwed up royally. Now it's on you to unscrew things." None of this sat right with Kano, but the fact remained that he couldn't just let Al Karawan go. He gave Stanley detailed directions to the hangout. The car sped away towards Yoyogi. Then Kano headed back to the precinct with his captive, trying to reassure himself that he might learn something from questioning Al Karawan that would help resolve the case. Kano sat opposite Al Karawan in the interrogation room. He'd been attempting to interview the suspect for about a quarter of an hour. Al Karawan sat ramrod stiff, not responding to any prompts or questions. "What time is it right now?" he asked. They'd taken away his watch, his wallet, a small knife, and his keychain. This was the third time he'd asked to know the time. "Why are you so concerned what time it is?" Kano asked. Al Karawan gave no reply. "Are you waiting on something?" Again, the suspect was staunchly silent. Kano wasn't sure what to make of this, but he took a look at his watch. "It's around 2 o'clock, he said. "What time exactly?" "It's 2:18. 2:18 in how many seconds?" "Look, just cut the crap." Kano grabbed the prisoner by the collar. "What the hell are you people after?" Al Karawan merely repeated his question. "What time is it right now?" With a growl of aggravation, Kano shoved his wristwatch in Al Karawan's face. "Ah, it's 2:20, Al Karawan said. "That was a very fast 2 minutes." "Okay then, that should do it." What does that mean?" The interrogation went on for several more hours. Despite Kano's best efforts, however, Al Karawan said nothing more. During all that time, the case continued to develop in unexpected ways, but Kano, stuck in the interrogation room, knew nothing about it until everything was already over and done. Alright, so this is going to be a bad end, and we somehow need to prevent... Either we need to prevent Tateno from letting this guy go, or we need to prevent Kano from seeing him or running into him. So I think that would be something on Achi's side, but I don't know. So, he hit his to be continued. Osawa is right there. Achi is still at a bad end. I don't know why. I guess all we can do is continue as Osawa. So we'll keep doing that for 5 minutes. Mr. Osawa, it's Kajiwara. Ah, perfect timing. Osawa hurried to let the detective into the study. The bug tracker's picking up signals. Oh? Yes, from all over the room. What should I do? Mr. Osawa, please calm down. As if that's even possible right now. Feels like there must be 10, no, maybe 100 listening devices in here. Kajiwara didn't miss a beat. Let me be honest with you. That bug tracker is broken. What? Osawa was dumbfounded. Broken? But this is the one I got from you, right? Well, yes. But mine isn't detecting anything. Kajiwara produced an identical bug tracker from his pocket. And, as he'd said, it wasn't getting any signal. As I recall, Mr. Osawa, that one was dropped on the floor when I was trying to hand it to you. Ah, yes, that's right. That must have been when it broke, sir. The strength ebbed from Osawa's body. He didn't even have the mental energy to be angry anymore. Well, that's a little anticlimactic, but I guess that's better than nothing. He gave the tracker a whack with the palm of his hand, and the beeping stopped. Right, he said. What can I do for you? Kajiwara clapped his hands together as if he'd just remembered something. Ah, right. We have a big problem. The toilet again, Osawa sighed. No, it's not that. It's something worse. Kajiwara's face turned grim. Something worse. That something happened to Maria. He needed to hear the detective out. There was no way it could be that important. Osawa didn't need to listen to this clown. Well, let's not turn him into the boy who cried wolf. You know, like, it could be a real thing this time. We can always go back and not listen to him for some reason, if we need to, so. Let's hear him out. That something happened to Maria. He needed to hear the detective out. What is it? Osawa asked. Go on, tell me. He did his best to remain composed. Well, you see, we ordered lunches for everyone, and it looked like there were 2 still left over, so I wound up eating them. There was an awkward pause. Osawa didn't have the foggiest idea of how to respond. My deepest apologies, sir. I ate the lunches intended for you and your wife. Kajiwara bowed profusely. And I really do need to apologize. They were tonkatsu bento boxes, and they were delicious. The meat was so tender, and the batter so crisp. With each and every bite, the rich flavor just filled my mouth more and more. Osawa felt a blood vessel burst in his skull. Listen, you. Get your goddamn act together, or... He didn't get to finish that thought. A pathetic little gurgle sounded from his stomach. Ah, see, Kajiwara said. You are hungry. He fussed sheepishly with his hair. At the talk of food, Osawa realized abruptly that he hadn't eaten anything since the night before. Shall I make something for you? The detective asked. This is all my fault, after all. You can cook. Osawa wasn't sure how thrilled he was with the idea of Kajiwara helping him. It's probably just going to be like a banana. Maybe a fried banana. Oh, you mustn't judge people based on outward appearances, Mr. Osawa. Alright, fine. Go right ahead, then. His newfound hunger was making it hard for him to think. Oh boy, this is not going to end well. He's probably going to burn the house down. It would certainly behoove him to eat something. He led Kajiwara to the kitchen. What's with that get-up? Wearing an apron in the kitchen is a must, sir. The cartoon character printed on the apron Kajiwara is wearing is one of his own design. Wow, of course, he would do that. It is modeled after the MPD's mascot. His name is Pinpo-kun. Alas, it isn't while I'm naked. Naked. Oh, are you not familiar with the concept of the naked apron? I'd really prefer to not have to imagine that while this guy is on the screen. The state of being entirely naked save for an apron. A form of cosplay. I don't know if I would call that cosplay, but sure. I mean, I think you would get kicked out of a convention for that. The views from the front, rear, and sides all offer a certain appeal, but caution must be advised, as it may be difficult to stop arguing about which presents the loveliest sight once the topic is raised. There are similar, more sexualized naked styles as well, such as the naked sock, the naked shoe, naked necktie, naked ribbon, naked scarf, naked collar, and so forth. Lab coat is the best of those. I could demonstrate if you like. Please do not. No, that's quite alright. Where'd you get that apron anyway? Oh, it's mine, sir. Have you had it with you this whole time? Yes, in here. With a smile, Kajiwara pointed to his pocket. Of course. Osawa eased himself into a chair. His hunger was making him feel weak, and Kajiwara was making him feel like he was losing his mind. Oh, this is bad, the detective said. I need to whip something up for you fast. Something's definitely wrong if you don't even have a comeback. Osawa felt his anxiety mounting. Just what sort of food was this insufferable oaf going to make, anyway? Well, it seems that this guy at least has some kind of self-awareness, and he knows that he's pissing Osawa off. Although I'm not sure if that makes this better or worse. It feels like he's doing it on purpose now. Probably nothing worth eating, was his bet. For now, he'd just have to pray he wound up with something edible. Maybe it was better to ask Tanaka to make him lunch instead. And since Ai's lunch was gone as well, he should probably ask her to make something. I don't know. We'll figure that out next time. So for now, we're gonna call that an episode, so until next time, take care, and I will see you then.